Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there this morning and having a great start to your weekend. I was thinking about not making a video this morning, but had a little bit of time to do it. So we're going to give you a daily update on what's going to happen specifically for your Saturday. And at the very end of the video, we'll briefly talk a little bit about the cold air mass coming. But there's been some model flip-flopping, which has been quite annoying, trying to figure out what exactly is going to happen because for about 3 or 4, even 5 days in a row, models were very consistent. And now over the last, I would say 18 to 24 hours, there's been some flip-flopping and some kind of backing up and punting, if you will, kind of stuff with the model. So we're going to try to figure it out, but I'll get much detail tonight. And we'll try to figure it out for you guys as best as we can. Just remember, we're going to be entering mid-March standards by the time this gets here. So your average highs, your average lows are steadily climbing. They climb a good bit even from like mid-January to mid-February, but now we're entering mid-March. So it takes some substantial colder than average temperatures to make something happen, especially for areas further south. But of course, we all point to the 1993 superstorm where it snowed over a foot of snow in places like Birmingham, Alabama. Definitely not saying anything like that's going to happen, but you never know. March is a very crazy month. We just saw it, but luckily today, much more calm weather, and I'm kind of glad. It's cool when we can talk about, wild stuff happening with the weather because it promotes channel growth and things like that, but it's also great when we can just talk about some chill weather, and that's what we're here to do this morning. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Appreciate the amazing support over the last week. Picked up a lot of subscribers. I was just at 40K, what was it, 3 or 4 days ago. Now I'm at 40.4, so picking up a lot of growth. So thank y'all for tuning in, trusting what I do here, and just giving me a platform to talk about what I love, which is the weather. So any of y'all got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. Let's get rolling. Look at watches, warnings. We got some lingering, high wind warnings, wind advisories up here. These will get dropped throughout the next several hours. Winter storm warnings up still for the interior Northeast, where you still have an ongoing winter storm as we speak. Certainly let me know what kind of totals you're seeing out there. I would definitely like to know. But I can tell you guys, I'll briefly say this. It just seems like every winter storm this year has not met forecast totals. They really haven't. One thing I look at, I need to get my words right this morning. One thing I look at right now is, like Chicago. 24 hours before this storm started, I made a video, when was it? Not last night, but the night before, and I showed you the 4 to 6 inches for Chicago, but then I mentioned I think that's a little too high. Then, of course, we made the video yesterday morning, and I was saying maybe 1 to 2 inches. You guys didn't end up getting anything. And even those areas, let me know what y'all saw in like northern Indiana where there was some forecast. The National Weather Service, it's not a knock on them. We all get it wrong sometimes. National Weather Service was saying 7 to 8 inches of snow in areas of the northern counties of Indiana. I'm not seeing any crazy totals like that out of that area. But let me know. Might be wrong. And certainly let me know what y'all saw in Michigan, because that was where certain areas could see a foot of heavy, wet snow. But I'm just not seeing any totals like that this morning out of that area. But certainly let me know what y'all see. I would love to know. But regardless, winter storm watch is up for the Dakotas, areas of Dakotas again, and north of Minneapolis, where a quick hitting, another winter event will happen for you guys. The jet stream on average is beginning to shift a little bit further north. Okay, and this happens with the changing of the seasons. When we get a little bit deeper in the spring, of course, we're still very early in spring. Technically, it's still winter, but I always go by the meteorological seasons, which, winter goes from December, January, February. Spring is March, April, and May. And then you go another 3 months, and that's summer, another 3 months, and that's fall. That's how I always look at it. But anyways, spending way too long on this. Water vapor loop, this is what's left over of our storm. That little swirl you see over the Northeast, it's heading on off, and it'll be past news here in the next 24 hours. And then we just kind of get, I would say, a little bit of a zonal flow where it just kind of works in general west to east. And then we just watch for our next storm, which, might not be until about a week out from today, I would say, maybe about 5 to 6 days. But we'll talk about that tonight. I'm not going to dig deep into that this morning. We'll begin to break that down tonight, so stick with me. But the weather today, a beautiful day, the calm after the storm, if you will. The only area that could deal with a little bit of storm activity is basically from north central Florida, maybe into central Florida, where the front is basically stalling out. So you'll basically have showers and storm activity. Nothing severe, I don't think, guys, but I say that it might happen. But just south of Jacksonville, start out boundary. So you're not getting much movement. So you might get some storm activity. And, it's just that time of the year where cold fronts don't really clear Florida as much. They do occasionally. But so, from central Florida point south, you're not going to get any cool down from this. This is a weak cold front anyway. So, even areas of the deep south is warming back up into the 70s still today. It just feels like a different air mass. But we're done with the storms. And, so the northeast today, the lingering winter storm. Let me know what you're seeing. You guys, I think you're mixing a little bit in Boston right now, but you might flip the, good old-fashioned rain here in the next couple hours and then maybe go back to snow as you're getting into about midday. Still snowing pretty good in southern Maine, down east areas of Maine, and then the snow is beginning to pull out. And by the time you get into this afternoon, some lingering light snow drifts through northern New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire. And then by the time, you're waking up tomorrow morning, maybe some light snow, burst of snow moving through Buffalo as you're waking up tomorrow morning. But, other than that, the winter storm is kind of happening right now, if you will. And it'll eventually just pull off and, it'll be past news. So not going to pull up any snowfall accumulation maps because you're right in the middle of it. But, an additional maybe few to as much as maybe several inches. Maybe somebody can get another 5 to 6 inches somewhere in these higher elevations of Vermont, New Hampshire. Certainly possible, and even Maine. But, it's happening right now. South central U.S., you're dealing with some rain showers up in areas of northeast Kansas. This will drift into northern Missouri as we're getting into the later morning, early afternoon hours, but not a big deal. They will diminish by the time we're getting into Sunday morning. Pretty much quiet weather. Like I said, it's a calm day today. Not a whole lot going on. Take advantage of it. Beautiful weather, beautiful conditions. North central U.S., a little area. I'm starting this off Sunday morning, so we'll back this up to Saturday morning, which is right now. A little area of snow will diminish here in southern sections of South Dakota. And then maybe some moisture will develop here in Wisconsin, central Wisconsin point south, northern Illinois, a little bit later this afternoon to this evening. This will be in the form of rain. And, might switch to a little snow a little bit later this evening, like getting closer to like 10, 11 p.m. But this is rain showers falling on top of snowpack, I would imagine, here in southern areas of Michigan. And this piece of energy will give a little bit of snow to Buffalo, like I mentioned. And then another quick hitting winter storm will move into areas of South Dakota. But, it's not going to be a blockbuster event by any means. We'll talk a little bit on that tonight. Temperatures today, sure, a cold front moved through. One thing you'll notice in the southeast today is that it feels different. There's not really any humidity in the air. You already noticed it probably in Louisiana, Arkansas, and Texas yesterday. This front moves through, it surges in dry air, so it'll be more like a spring day today. Yesterday for a lot of areas in Georgia, South Carolina, it was kind of like an early summer day. The temperatures, of course, didn't rise into the 90s, but it was more like you could feel the juice in the atmosphere. The humidity was there. Today, totally different story. You're warming. It's going to be a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Finally, we get a beautiful day on the weekend. From all these areas of the deep south all the way up to southeast North Carolina, warming into the 70s, even some 80s in southern Georgia, panhandle of Florida. And certainly you're going to be probably pretty humid and warm down here in Florida where the cold front didn't clear. But, up here, basically, the Tennessee Valley, the Ohio Valley, somebody criticized my geographical location of the Ohio Valley. I think sometimes I throw Indiana in the Ohio Valley, but I think technically that's called the Midwest. Heck, I think some people call Ohio the Midwest, which geographically speaking, that just seems kind of weird to me, but I got a lot of viewers from that area. Definitely let me know what the majority of people up there consider the cutoff of the Ohio Valley and the star of the Midwest. I've always heard St. Louis is the gateway to the West, I believe, but I certainly consider Illinois the Midwest, and then Indiana's kind of a weird state for me. But anyways, we're not going to get on that. But you guys correct me. Let me know. I'm all for it. Constructive criticism is good when it's presented respectfully, of course. But a cold day in the Northeast. But you're getting into March now. Nothing. It's not like you got a winter storm ongoing in the middle of January, so you don't have bitterly cold temperatures. But certainly cold enough for winter weather up here. And you're just steadily starting to see warmer temperatures. But like I said, cold is coming. It's going to knock some of these guys back into the freezer for a little bit. And speaking of that, 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, which was issued yesterday about early mid-afternoon, much below average temperatures, especially for the middle of the country from the 9th through the 13th. So, cross-polar flow is going to dump some cold air. You're getting into what we call phase 8, which I don't talk about much on this channel because to be honest with you guys, I couldn't get detailed with you all with that. It's not that I don't know much about it. I know which number phase favors cold air and which doesn't. But, I can come on here and say, hey, we're in phase, 12 and a half, even though that doesn't exist. And that means we're going to get slightly warmer than average temperatures. But, you as the audience, you're going to probably ask, well, why? And I couldn't tell you why, to be honest with you. It's just a correlation of things. But phase 8 does favor, and phase 1, 2 also does. Phase 1, favors cold dump into the U.S. Just where? In this case, everybody sees it. Just a whole lower 48 dump of cold air. And then you get to the 11th through the 17th, and the Climate Prediction Center says this is going to be centered right over the eastern U.S., especially right over the southeast. So hope you guys did not plant here in the eastern U.S. I know outside at my house right now, it looks like April. It does, with just everything budding. I have never seen my grass this green on March 4th in my entire life of living and owning my home since April of 2016. Never. It's wild. It blows my mind every time I see it. But here we are. We're going to freeze up a little bit, guys. It's gone unexpected. But how cold will we be? Not sure. What I can tell you is you've had some moderation in the models. In fact, this was saying, hey, colder than average temperatures for the entire eastern U.S. except the far northeast U.S. What does that mean? That means that you're probably going to have highs in the 50s, lows in maybe the 30s, just depending on where you are here in the south. You can maybe knock that down a little bit more here in the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes region. So it's not like, if this was coming in middle January, this will be highs in the 40s, maybe 30s. But we're getting in the mid-March. So this is what it's saying it could be around this time next week, around next Saturday afternoon, okay? Below average temperatures, okay? This was the run. This was the model run from the GFS ensemble back on the morning of the 2nd. So when was that? That was, that was the lunchtime model of the 2nd. So what was that? That was about pretty much 2 days ago. So we'll go all the way up to the current run of what it's showing for this time frame. Okay, for the current run, okay? You're going to see some changes on your map. Watch what happens with the colder anomalies, which is in the blues and the purples. Watch how it gets yanked back west, okay? And this is the current run. So hopefully you follow what just happened there. Basically what that means for the same time frame, the colder than average temperatures are being delayed based off the GFS ensemble. Some of the similar things are happening on the European ensemble, the Canadian ensemble. So to me, I got to look at this, and say, hey, do I make a long detailed video on cold coming? Or, do we keep things a little conservative? And that's the approach I'm going to do, because when I see a delayed but not denied, to me, that's 50% of the time it's delayed and denied. You get, and we can keep, the more we back this up for us winter weather fans that are clinging for some last second Hail Mary that winter can deliver, the more you delay this cold air later into March, the significantly lower the chances are for some kind of late season miracle winter storm for areas that have not seen jack this year, which is a lot of people in the eastern U.S. So some big changes in the models over the last, I would say, 18 to 24 hours. And this is a big, just delayed signal. Now, eventually you keep it moving. The cold does get here, but yeah, you keep delaying it into the inevitable, into the oblivion is what I meant to say. My wife always picks on me because I use my words wrong. Then you get later into March, and climate-wise, you start to lose any sort of favorable, time of the year is what I'm saying. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'll be with you guys later this evening. Have a soccer game I got to coach in about an hour and a half. So y'all definitely pray for me there. It's been fun. It's been fun with soccer. It really has. Everything has went really well. So looking forward to this morning. God bless all y'all. Talk to y'all this evening, and y'all have a great day.